Okay, and hello and welcome to our friends on Facebook Live and YouTube and our regular viewers on Zoom. Hi there, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. Let me just get someone in from the waiting room. Fabulous. Okay, so today is a challenging topic, something that really gets to the bone, the marrow of who we are as people. And I've called this discussion we'll be having today, reasons you're still in emotional pain. So there's an assumption that most people are still in emotional pain about something, some occurrence, some event. But I'm going to talk more about some people who may have affected us or are still affecting us, and we're still holding on to emotional pain. Because I think it's safe to say that everyone watching today has been in bad relationships, bad friendships, had to suffer or deal with family who weren't supportive and gave them the filled their emotional needs, whatever they were. They may have lost a loved one. Everyone I think that I speak to who has any sense of self is still in some kind of emotional pain. And it happens, things happen to us. Some things are under control, but a lot of stuff are out of our control. I mean, everyone, I'm sure, can think back to times in their childhood, or friendships, in school. I mean, kids can be really, really mean and nasty, and they can bully and say things. And these things, unfortunately, can stay with us, you know? The point is that they stay with us too long. And the emotional pain that can come from these events, unfortunately, they last too long. I mean, how long should emotional pain last? Well, for a person who's got the right attitude and the right guidance, who knows? 6 weeks, a few months. In Judaism, we usually say 1 year to get through a cycle of challenge and difficulty is understandable. Even for, God heaven forbid, the loss of a parent, we give that 1 year in order to kind of like move past it. And yet, we hold on to emotional pain. We take it with us. Why? What is it about us? Because we're going to make an assumption that these events that have happened to us, these people who entered our lives for a short period, maybe a long period, who caused us emotional pain, we don't want that. Why do people hold on to emotional pain? What is going on over here? So I'm going to give you ideas. I mean, I have a long list. I'm going to narrow it down to just a few ideas today. And they may sound like they're overlapping, which they do a little bit, but hopefully by the end of the day, we'll have some more clarity. I'm going to start with a solution though, which I usually don't do. I usually build up the problem and try to find solutions. The solution to everything I'm going to tell you today comes down to two things: self-care and self-love. I have, from my years of counseling experience, I have found that people who have self-care, that means they take care of themselves, and self-love, that means they really learn to love who they are, whatever that means to you, are able to overcome these reasons that you're still in emotional pain. So let's begin. I've got a list. I mean, right now, I've got like 4 things to say, but each one is subcategories. So bear with me, lot to say, take notes and rewatch the class if you have to. One last thing I have to say. We're talking about emotional pain, and I call it emotional pain, but not rational pain. There's a reason why, not logical pain. And the reason is, I'm sure I've said this before, if I haven't, I apologize. Everybody, all of you are emotional beings. That's what we are. We are not rational beings. Even the smartest people. I sat down 10 o'clock last night. I had a young couple in my office, and one of them was, I mean, they're both wonderful people. One is extremely smart and very logical and very methodical. But when you just kind of like peel back a little bit, you see it's just there as a cover. We are all emotional beings, and we all get hurt emotionally. That is the human condition. We are not rational. Even the smartest people you know, I don't care how many PhDs they've got, how big their businesses are, how much money they've made, I don't care. It means nothing. We are all, in essence, emotional people. We've got to talk to the emotional sides of ourselves. Any resolution to crisis in our lives is going to have to take an emotional path. It may have certain rational ideas, but it's emotional. Okay, with all of that in the pocket, let's go. Number one of the first reasons people are still in emotional pain, I've discovered, is that you are attached to people who have been distant to you. You are attached to people who have been distant to you. Now, this distance could be geographical, but most of the time, they've just distanced themselves from you and you're attached to them. Many times you're not physically attached to them or even locally, geographically, but you're emotionally attached to these people, but they've kind of left you behind. They've moved on and you've held on. And they have a certain control over you. By the way, this may sound strange. You don't even have to know who these people are personally, and maybe they don't even know you exist at all. People feel emotional pain over celebrities. When things happen, I still don't get it. Right? There's celebrities in the public eye, things happen to them, and you start crying about them, and they don't know who you are even. And yet we feel an attachment to them. I like to say that people, I actually said this to someone very recently, and I believe this to be very, very true. You've got to see attachment to people, unhealthy attachment to people, like a drug addiction. Just like people are addicted to drugs or addicted to bad, unhealthy food, so too people are addicted to other people. How many times have I heard someone say to me, that's it, no more fast food, New Year's beginning, this is the new me, and I'm giving up on the chocolate, no more fast food, no more burgers and the rest of it. And as soon as they say that, within a few days, they're going to be back binging. How many times have I heard people say, that's it, I'm done with him, they're out of my life, I'm moving on, I'm not. And then a couple of days later, after they have such conviction and such a moment of clarity in the sessions we're sitting in, boom, they still go back. They go back to that relationship, that unhealthy, abusive, maybe physically abusive, or definitely emotionally abusive relationship. People are like drugs. They fill this void inside us. They give us a high. Our adrenaline goes when we're around them, even though they're the worst people for us. And we know it. And logically, it doesn't make any sense why this abused wife is going back to her husband, or this abused child is going back to the family when there's other alternatives. It makes no sense, and yet they do. People are attached to people who have been distant to them. Why? So there's a few reasons, I think. Number one, it's familiar. It feels safe. It's a safe place to be. I think I mentioned it before. There's a movie called The Shawshank Redemption, one of my favorite movies. And there is a condition that is a theme in the movie called being institutionalized. And that is people who've been inside the prison system for so long. It's become so part of everything that they are that there's this tremendous fear of going out and being freed. And actually although they'll say to you, I can't wait to get out of the joint, I can't wait to leave. But as soon as they're out, they actually reoffend, maybe even subconsciously, just to get back inside. It makes no sense. There's an attachment to unhealthy behaviors and peoples. And in this case, physically, prisons. And that's what many of these relationships are. They are prisons. And yet we prefer life inside there because it feels safe. You wake up, you know what you got to do. Pretty much nothing. You get your 3 square meals a day. Okay, I'm in prison. I'll live with it. Better than what's out there. These people are also very scared of the future without this person in their lives. Okay? So they feel attached to these people, although these people have been very distant and maybe aren't even in your life at all. Maybe you don't even know who they are. As I said, it's just like the abused wife. I mean, in Jewish history, we saw it, just to give you a Jewish example, when the Jewish people left Egypt, we were complaining about the slavery and the challenges of being slaves. We can't wait to get out of here, save us. And then they got out. And one of the first things they said when they got out was, this is too tough. Let's just go back in. I was like, are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? Do you know how you were tortured in there? And yet you want to go back inside to the slavery of being under Pharaoh and all the torture and pain? And the answer is yeah, because sometimes being attached to these unhealthy people and the servitude and the pain, emotional and physical pain, is actually better than having to create a responsible life for myself. So people remain in emotional pain because they're attached to people who are distant to them and don't give them what they need. I want to give you an extreme to this. There's an extreme to this, although unfortunately it's become more and more common. I actually spoke about it in one of my books, and that is ghosting. Ghosting. I don't know if many of you have heard of this idea, but it's become more and more prevalent. And ghosting basically is people who are in a relationship for a month, 6 months. I mean, I know someone who was in a relationship for over a year, and the other side just disappears. Blocks them, doesn't contact them, doesn't call, totally removes themselves from this person's life. Now, this is an extreme, and this is not the usual behavior. But unfortunately, these people take a long time to move on. There's a lack of closure, which is understandable. And they feel attached to these people who have now not only become distant, but they've disappeared. They have, in the vernacular, ghosted them. These people end up, and this is the expression which is used in the addictions world actually, these people end up living in your head rent-free. People just obsess over them. And is it something I did, something I said? And they'll rehash every single interaction, every movement, every event, every date for months and months to say, well, how did this happen? And the answer is always, who knows? You're never really going to get an understanding. These people have completely removed themselves from your life. And I've seen it with parents and kids, right? The kids will leave home and just break off contact. And they'll go, what did I do? What did I say? And they'll say, Rabbi, how did I get to this point? What did I say? And the answer is, I don't know. Could be 1,000 reasons why they did it. But in the end, they have control over you. And it's a mental form of control. So that's number one. You're attached to people who have been distant to you. And there needs to be a disconnect. Number two of reasons why you are still in emotional pain. Number two is, just admitting someone, you are paying attention to people who ignore you. So these are people who are in your lives, but for the most part, they're kind of ignoring you and not giving you what you need. And you give them attention and you are there for them. And yet, sometimes, by the way, this attention is positive attention. You'll call, you'll WhatsApp. But many times, you'll give them negative attention. And negative attention is people who, I mean, this expression I use, it may not mean much to you right now, but it's people who act out. You may remember in school when you wanted attention, when you were a child, you're in school, and you wanted attention from one of your friends. And this friend was, ignoring you. So at first of all, you're like, hey, how are you? Hey, I'm over here, and let's hang out. And then ignoring you. And you're trying to get their attention. So you start to do more and more crazy things in order to get their attention. Maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a boyfriend or girlfriend. And then you get more and more extreme. And then people start to really do crazy things in order to gain this. I call this negative attention because you want attention, but you're using very negative things for yourself. You'll embarrass yourselves, right? You will do things in public, say things online just to grab this. You'll demean yourself, okay? You're holding on, and this emotional pain is going to come with you. They ignore you, but you just give them so much attention. And the answer is, once again, you're going to have to find a disconnect. You're taking the emotional pain of this person who's just not giving you what you need in the relationship in any real way. Okay? So it kind of sounds like number one, but over here, this person is in your life and you're giving them so much of your time, but they're not reciprocating, they're not giving you, they are ignoring you. Emotional pain is going to come with that. Number three, you care too much about people who are careless when it comes to you. You care too much. And these people are careless. So they're not ignoring you. They're in your life and you're giving them care and you're showing them attention, but they're careless. They're just not maximizing. They just don't, in a relationship that needs to be 100% from each side. Sometimes it goes up and down, but these people are not giving you anywhere near enough of the correct care that you need or deserve, okay? I found this to be true in one-sided relationships. And I hear this a lot from people. People say, I feel like I'm in a one-sided relationship. I feel as though I'm caring about them and they're not caring about me. It's like a quasi-relationship. And there's a few, I've got a little list over here of things I jotted down that I've found people who are in one-sided relationships. That means they're caring for people, although the other person is being careless and not taking their emotions with them, and therefore they're in emotional pain. They lack a feeling of being secure in the relationship. They just feel insecure. They're always on the edge, right? This person could walk out at any moment. They're not committed. They don't care about me. They don't give me the time, love, and attention that I need. These people will say to me, these people who are in one-sided relationships, on the side of people who are not getting the care, they say that after every interaction, they feel empty. It could be going to an event, going to a wedding or a bar mitzvah, It could be an intimacy thing. But after it, they just feel empty after that event, right? These people are still in emotional pain. The pain is going to be with you unless you try to fill in and try to figure out why this person is not giving you the care that you deserve because you're giving towards them. Many of these people tell me that they have a fear of upsetting a partner or causing conflict. Okay, so once again, they're kind of like in this one-sided thing, and they're always, the expression they use is they're always tiptoeing around, walking on eggshells, right? Around this person, very, very scared and nervous that they're going to cause some kind of, controversy between themselves, when really at this time, you got to stand up for yourself and make your desires needed. So once again, we're looking at one-sided relationships. One side is caring, the other one is pulled away. So you're in a relationship. They're there. They haven't ghosted you, right? And they're paying you attention, but they're just careless towards you, okay? They're not taking your feelings into account. And these people, right, feel as though there's a lack of personal growth, right? And they constantly feel as though they are lacking, right, in this relationship. And with that comes emotional pain. I'm not getting what I need from this other individual. Okay, so let's just run through again. Number one, we said was you're attached to people who have been distant to you. You're paying attention to people who ignore you. You care too much about people who are careless when it comes to you. That's this kind of one-sided relationship. The last one is a big one, but we'll get through this, God willing. The next one and the last one is you're making time for people who are too busy for you. Okay? And that keeps you in a state of emotional pain. Let me explain a little bit. Let me give you some signs and symptoms that I've found, and I've jotted over the years, that you make time for people, and people are just too busy for you. They just don't give you what you need. Let's go through these together. Number one, these people will forget important dates and events. That's painful, I mean, it's almost like a bit of a joke. Like, you know what day it is today? And they're thinking, I know it's something, and they'll sit there and it's almost like a jokey thing, but this causes emotional pain. Because if you really did love me and you really did care for me and I'm making time for you, right, then you'd make time and you'll remember these events for me because I make time and make an effort for your important dates and events. I think you can do the same for me. Number two is they can comfortably spend the entire day without talking to you. Now, sometimes, a lot of the time we get busy, and we get engrossed in our work, but there needs to be a part of us like something's missing from my day. If I'm in this relationship, right, and sometimes days go by where, I am too busy, but they're comfortable about it and they're just totally okay. Just having no contact with your partner, with your loved one at all during the just complete ignoring. This brings emotional pain, right? And there's no resolution over here until you feel as though this person is reciprocating the time and effort you are giving them. Number 3 is that they don't notice small changes in your appearance. Now, once again, these are like funny little episodes and memes that we see. But many times we'll make a change and people say, you don't see anything? Like, no, like, I'm like, I got green hair. You didn't, that's an exaggeration. But many times people don't notice these small changes in your appearance. They're basically saying, you know what? I'm too busy for you. This is not important to me. You're not important to me. And therefore, people remain in emotional pain because of this. Another thing that I've seen people do a lot, which again is painful to people, is they make fun of your worries and don't take your fears seriously. We all have fears about, the present, the future, and we share those with people that we love and trust. And what needs to happen is we need validation, even if it's completely absurd, right? It could be a phobia, I have a friend, a neighbor of mine who has this terrible fear of dogs. Where does it come from? I don't know, but she just literally cannot sit in the same room as a dog. It's very, very easy to make fun and to, because, a little dog comes in this big and just the yaps and she's like freaking out. But in the end, you're not helping if we're constantly making fun of their worries. Don't take their fears seriously. People have real fears, and sometimes they're rational and sometimes they're irrational. But if we don't validate those fears, at least validate, just hear them, give them time to say, I'm nervous about this new business ever coming up, about this operation, about this, don't worry about it. Right? There's a pain, a mismatch. Something's going to be missing in our relationships if we don't validate those worries. And people just like poo-poo them, make fun of them. This is terrible. Number 5, people who make you feel stupid or weird for having hobbies or interests, okay? They make you feel stupid or weird. And once again, people get involved with crazy stuff, but they keep us going. We have strange hobbies. It could be certain shows we like or certain things we like to do in our spare time. And people make you feel stupid or weird for that, okay? This is, once again, people not giving you the attention and the validation because you spend your time doing this, and I'm going to be like, you're wasting your time, right? Why do you think? Well, I need to do it, right? This is what I need to do in order to, I have a friend of mine who has a thing for old cars, and he likes to tinker around with old cars, and he has tremendous pleasure doing it. Personally, I don't get it. I just, I barely know how to put the, windshield wiper liquid inside my car. I barely, try to figure out how to even get the hood open on my car. And yet some people get tremendous pleasure. Now they just think, so stupid, right? And then we want to suddenly make fun of these things. Why we do it, we'll leave that aside. Okay? But once again, it's not nice, and it gives people, once again, it's emotionally breaks people down, when we're not willing to just take time to listen to maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's something I just don't get about a car engine that, about, I don't know, that particular show you're watching, which is about zombies eating other people, which I just don't get, but I'm willing to validate, maybe there's something to it. I don't know what it is. Okay. And together with this, people often criticize your ideas and behaviors. This idea of constant criticism that we've spoken about and everything is your fault. Yeah. Once again, this keeps us in this pattern of emotional pain. It doesn't let us. Now, I'm going to end up where I started because I don't want to speak too long. But I find the solution to pretty much all these things. Right? You're attached to people who've been distant to you. You're paying attention to people who ignore you. You care too much about people who are careless when it comes to you. These are actually concentric circles coming in. And you're making time for people who are too busy for you. These things which, again, I'm saying keep us in emotional pain, which again, I think goes back to our childhood because we always need positive attention. The solution is self-care and self-love. I want to just share one idea with you. I think I've mentioned it before. I went to a certain advisor that I've had that I've spoken about before as a very good friend of mine who I go to, and I'm going through certain challenges in my life or my counseling practice or my rabbinics. And I was with him a few years back, and we're sitting having a conversation, and I gave him a list of things that I was dealing with that were really like weighing down on me, you know? And he turned around at one point and said, Lawrence, when was the last time you went to have your teeth cleaned at the dentist? I was like, I have no teeth pain. I'm here because I'm dealing with crisis in my life. And he's like, yeah, when was the last time you went to the dentist to have your teeth cleaned? And I was like, I don't know, a year ago, year and a half. And he's like, go get your teeth cleaned. I was like, what has that got to do with everything I'm dealing with? I couldn't see the connection. And yet I trusted him, and I did it. We went back, and he explained to me that sometimes if we want to fix emotional pains in our lives, the first stage is self-care. And what may seem like a completely disconnected solution or action could have deep consequences in your life. It helped, actually. That was my first step to self-care, taking care of myself. Ended up triggering better eating, more exercise. It took time, but self-care actually ends up bringing solutions to a lot of areas in our life that we don't realize are actually just us not taking enough attention to ourselves and just giving unwarranted attention to other people. I was actually giving a session to someone online just a few days ago, and it was actually before Shabbat, and I noticed that this lady had terribly chipped nail polish on her nails. And I said, why don't you go for a manicure? She was like startled. I was like, go get a manicure. Do you like it? Because, yeah, because most of the time, well, I've been doing it myself for a long time. There was Corona and stuff. I'm like, they're open again. Go get a manicure. And it's going to sound strange. I spoke to her after Shabbat on Sunday afternoon. And she said to me that her entire Shabbat was different, right? Because she obviously had started this process of self-care. And she found that a lot of her mood and a lot of the stuff she was dealing with, the stuff was still there, right? Getting your nails done doesn't fix all of your life's problems. But that little step, that little action, and there's always something you can do, which is why I usually finish off counseling sessions by telling people, don't think about what we spoke about today, because there's a lot of pain and difficulty that we brought up, but go do something really nice for yourself. Complete yourself. Go spend some money on yourself, if that's what it takes. Go for a walk, go buy some ice cream, do something really, really nice for yourself. And that could be worth more than all the discussions we had for a full hour about all the stuff they're dealing with, family, friends, and relationships, and husbands and daughters, and all the stuff that we're all dealing with all the time. That little bit of self-care, that little bit of self-love actually can dispel. And I think the reason is because emotional pain is, we think it's coming from the outside, but actually it's coming from our own reactions to those things that we're dealing with. And therefore, what I found is that people start to take care of themselves, and it could be a physical thing. Again, something as simple as even doing your nails if you haven't done it, or going for a run, or having a nice meal, or buying a pocketbook, if that's what need be, and actually using it. These things are worth your time, effort, and energy to fix and help, because we've allowed other people to enter into our heads and bring us down, and the solution, in 99% of the cases, is going to have to come from inside ourselves. Okay, thank you very much for joining. We will continue our stories and ideas next week. This, of course, is our series on getting better at being you. I'll see you all, God willing, next Wednesday, same time, same place. Thank you, friends, for joining us.